So I had to go into town this morning to renew my insurance for truck. So I decided just to spend a few days off by myself, away from my family, who I really enjoy, but I also really like my me time and just me and Frank. So I've been wanting to come back here for a few years. I first came here to pick a nearby burn, so I'm excited to see if I can find some morels. The first year after the burn, there's tons, but then after that, it could be hit or miss. But I know there's also mint out here in season, so I'm looking forward to picking that. And I found 3 unopened beers, which is really exciting because I didn't bring any. I didn't feel like spending any money. So usually when I get to a spot, I'll park where I think I want to stay, and then I'll go walk around the area and see if there's somewhere better and see what kind of treasures I can find. So yeah, found some beer this time, and yeah, we're just gonna hang out here and enjoy some peace and quiet, away from phone service, away from internet. We're off all the grids, so looking forward to it. Feels good to be out here, but I forgot how much work it is walking through a burn. Oh boy. I walked around for a while, but I didn't find any morels. I did find a few false morels, like this one here, which are not edible. And I also found this really neat plant in a moist place, which I'd never seen before, so I count that as success for the day. Was that a nice nap, Frankie? Yeah, that was a nice nap, eh? So last summer I began roasting my own coffee as a way to save money and also reduce packaging waste because I'm now buying them in big bulk bags instead of individual little tiny bags. It's also a great way to have more coffee on hand and save space. When you roast coffee, it expands as you roast it. It almost doubles in size. So if I want to have several months worth of coffee in the van at one time, it's a lot more efficient to have green beans and then just roast what I need for a week or two. And then it also stays a lot fresher green than after it's roasted. So the roasting process is actually really simple. You just need a heat source. I'm using my Whisper Light, which I've had for 13 years. You need a pot. I'm using a 2.5 liter stainless steel pot. I got it at a thrift store for 50 cents. I like the curved edges at the bottom. And then you need a stirring device. I use a whisk. I think it sounds great on the metal pot and with the beans. And then you basically just, I roast in really small batches. So you just put it on your heat source and stir constantly until it's the darkness you want. It's totally a personal preference. So that's part of the fun of roasting your own beans, is that you can play around with the roast and figure out what you like best and what works for each bean. It does do a lot of smoke as the chaff, which is kind of like the skin, sort of like a popcorn, comes off and burns up, and those fumes are like quite noxious, so you want really good ventilation, which makes this a great thing to do outside. You'll also want a metal colander to help separate that chaff from the bean. and to get it to cool down as quickly as possible. The beans get very hot, so they could melt a plastic one, which is why I say it's probably best to use metal. And then you just want to let it sit for about 3 days to off gas before you consume the coffee. So this next clip is 12 minutes of roasting condensed down into 30 seconds so that you can see the progression of color of the roast. I'm by no means an expert on roasting my own coffee. It's something I'm new to and just playing with. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below and I'll do my best to answer them or send you off in the right direction. I just googled stovetop coffee roasting and I found quite a few helpful videos on YouTube about that. One thing they did mention is crack first and second crack. So the clip after this is a sound of the cracking so you have an idea what you're looking for. And if you decide to try roasting your own coffee, I hope you have tons of fun with it, because I certainly have. So one of my favorite things about living in a van is waking up and going outside immediately, and on this morning I got to watch this little hummingbird here collecting willow fluff for its nest, so that was a precious moment. So the water was up to there last night. All of this was underwater when I got here. Oh. Hi. I know. It's a big step in the morning. We're gonna make you a stool. We're gonna make you something to make it easier for when you're tired and stiff. Oh, good morning. Hi. You're so soft. You're the softest boy. You wanna play? You wanna play with your ball? So I'm living on a pretty tight budget right now, so I decided not to go to the grocery store before heading out of town. So the only sort of fresh thing I had was this block of tofu, but other than that, everything else was dried goods that I just have a huge supply of in my van. So all my meals are kind of like carton potatoes and beans and rice and lentils. And I baked some bread things later on in this episode, and I used some dried mushrooms, and I foraged some greens. So I got this GoSun oven at the start of the year through a friend of a friend who had been gifted one they didn't want. So I got a really, really good price on getting a brand new one. But it's this amazing, simple design that allows you to cook with just the power of the sun. No fuel, no electricity. If there's a shadow, you can cook in it, and it will heat up to 550 degrees Fahrenheit. How long things take to cook really just depends on the intensity of the sun, but it's a double-walled glass tube with a vacuum, and then the reflector shield is a parabolic curve, so it just amplifies the sun into the tube and can cook basically anything that you can fit inside of it. So I've been having a fun time experimenting with roasting garlic and cooking vegetables and making these little kind of bannock breads that normally I would fry, but this is a lot less greasy way to go about it. So how hot the oven gets really just depends on the intensity of the sun, but I found that once it heats up, it holds the heat inside quite well. So even if clouds roll in like they did here, it wasn't an issue baking my little breads. And while things were cooking, I just am over there picking some raspberry leaves, which I like to dry for tea. They have a mild flavor, but they're also just really helpful for any sort of like female issues, if you catch my drift. Um, but yeah, here's the the breads after they came out. So they don't get quite as crispy as in an oven because it's more of like a steaming environment, but they were so tasty. They do come out very, very hot. You can see here they're just, it's steaming, but oh, I was gonna save them for dinner and I ended up just gobbling them all up in the afternoon. But yeah, it's really fun. It's nice to not have to use any fuel. Want to go for a walk, Frank?
You ever worked on a farm before? You're just ornamental.
So I hope you enjoyed coming along on this very chill and very food-oriented day and a half of my life down by the river. We had a great time on this trip, and in the next video, things get a bit more exciting with some wild animal encounters, so you'll probably want to stick around for that. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Really appreciate you watching, and I'll send you off on your day now with a clip of Frank just being really super cute and expressive. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. See you soon. Bye.